Greetings, friends. I'm AK.
And I'm Laura.
And we are
the Chainsaw Girls. On today's episode, I am so gosh darn excited.
So am I.
We are covering 2013's Coherence.
Okay, so I feel like we always say this, but if you don't want spoilers, go watch the movie first. Some people prefer to do it the other way around, to each their own. However, for Coherence in particular, I highly implore you to go watch this movie first. There are so many characters and so many conversations happening. There's so much rapport building happening that it's not our typical, this scene happens and this scene happens. So in order for you to follow along with all the different names, for example, go watch it. It's such a good movie. It has such a good ending. Don't spoil it for yourself. I mean, it's up to you. Do whatever you want.
If you can't help it, I think you'll have a better appreciation of the episode if you watch the movie, because there's so much going on and it's a complicated film.
Yes.
But it's complicated in the best way.
That part.
This movie was written and directed by James Ward Burkett. It apparently had a budget of $50K, but I don't believe that was during filming.
Okay.
I think actual principal filming costs a lot less.
Yeah.
Than this.
I was so curious about the budget.
Yeah, it's extremely low budget. So much so that this was all filmed in his living room.
The director's living room?
Yes.
That blows my mind. You told me that last night and I was like, what? There are so many things. I have so many questions. Laura has so many answers. I'm so excited because I know that you did a deep dive on this movie. So she told me a little, a couple things here and there, but there's so much more that we have to get into. But yes, the living room.
The living room.
And I think you said he and one other person were the ones holding the cameras the whole time?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what else? What's the big thing you told me about this movie that blew my mind?
So the biggest thing about this film is there wasn't a technical script. It was, for the most part, improvised.
That blew my mind.
I would say 75 to 80% of it is improvised. And the rest is, I mean, here's the thing. It was written.
Yeah.
Like, it is a written story. There's a plot. But it's an interesting concept. The director talks about how he didn't want the actors to be focused on their lines and their reactions and their marks and all of that. He really wanted them to be present for every scene. So he would hand them, like, at the beginning of the day, he would hand them a little piece of paper that would have, like, their initiative for the day. And for an example of that is there's a scene where M, who is one of our characters, was instructed to not let Kevin, her boyfriend, leave. That was the instruction she was given. Kevin was given the instruction that he's supposed to leave.
Okay.
And so neither one of them knew what the other person's initiative was.
It's almost like he's having them method act by saying, like, this is who you are. This is what you're doing today. So they don't know the other person is going to be trying to stop them.
Right, exactly. And so there was a lot of extra footage because he really let the actors have free range of the house. That was one of the rules. You can walk all over the house. Well, what ended up happening is they would do things or go places that he really weren't necessary and weren't part of the plot. So we would have to sort of kind of reel them back in and be like, okay, now let's try not leaving the dining room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
yeah, that probably created more work for him in post, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, imagine having to piece together this whole movie. Like, I think that's why I wonder if the $50K, if a lot of that went towards the editing.
Maybe.
And
yeah.
like mixing and all of that.
But that's still so impressive. And I love that concept. I definitely think it worked because you really feel like you are just at an intimate dinner party with friends, which we should probably read the IMDb description, right?
Oh gosh, we're jumping ahead. Yes. Okay. IMDb says, strange things begin to happen when a group of friends gather for a dinner party on an evening when a comet is passing overhead.
At the time of this recording, you can watch Coherence streaming on Peacock, Tubi, and Prime is what I found.
Yes. And I also want to make a note that this was also written by Alex Manoogian. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he plays Amir.
Okay.
So
he wrote it.
He did. He wrote it. So it was co-written by him and James. They wrote it together.
Oh, okay.
And I believe it took about a year for them to like get it all sort of ironed out and figured out.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
A lot of planning. I love it. I love this movie.
I know, I do too. I think it's up there as one of my favorites because I can rewatch it over and over and catch things that I missed the time before.
Yeah. You definitely have to pay attention to this movie.
You have to pay attention to everything in this movie.
You cannot be on your phone watching this movie.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. There are a lot of little random facts that I think I'm going to sprinkle in as we go along. I feel like we should just hop right into it.
Yeah. You're about to have things spoiled, just so you know. As always on this podcast.
I mean, the amount of notes I have on this, I love it. Okay, let's do it.
So we've already established that friends are getting together for a dinner party.
Yes,
right?
And we open up on M. M is going to be one of our leads here. She's one of our characters, and she's on her way to this dinner party, and she's on the phone with her boyfriend Kevin, and they're having some kind of conversation. You don't really get an idea of like what it is they're talking about, but in the middle of the conversation, as they're about to say goodbye, M's phone cracks.
Yes.
And like dies as she's pulling into her friend's house.
Yes.
We come inside, and now we're introduced to a whole slew of people.
A lot of people. It's going to be probably a little tricky to follow along with the names at first.
Yeah, so I'm going to list our players that are in the house when we first get there. So M walks in, and we're introduced to Mike, who was Xander on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
We're introduced to Beth. We're introduced to Lee. And at this point, that's it. So she walks in, and immediately you can tell that these are old friends.
Yes.
They like right away are like, oh, they're happy to see each other. They're kind of like chit-chatting. And what I love about it is M immediately brings up that her phone cracked.
Yeah, and she thinks it's because of the comet.
She brings up the comet. I love that. I love that we already have an idea that like something is kind of going on.
And it doesn't feel very focused on. It feels like in passing because they're having so many side conversations. There's so much rapport building during these conversations.
Yeah.
And she just kind of says like, yeah, Miller's comet is happening tonight. And I don't know, maybe it has something to do with this.
Yeah, exactly. And we also find out that Beth also brought a little vial of a ketamine mixture.
Yeah, they're like, what is that? And she's like, it's echinacea. She's like listing off all these essential oils, and a little bit of ketamine, and then just kind of goes down the list and like, whoa, wait, and what?
Ketamine. And the reason she brings this up is because someone at the party mentions that Amir is bringing Lori. And Lori, we will soon find out, is somebody that the group is not really friends with.
Yeah.
But one of them dated her at one point.
Yeah. Do we say who now or are we going to wait?
We can say now if you want to.
Okay. I think it might be easier to help them follow along.
Sure.
So Lori used to date Kevin.
Yes.
Which is now M's boyfriend.
Yes. And we haven't met him yet, but he is coming to the party.
Yes.
And we notice right away that this is upsetting for M.
Yeah.
And so Beth's solution to this is offering her ketamine.
Yeah.
It's actually really funny.
Yeah. But it's not just ketamine. It's just a little bit.
There's some herbal stuff in there too.
Yeah. Yeah. Which there was. And we'll come to find out. We also find out that the cell towers are down. Right?
Yes.
When everyone starts getting together, all the friends start filing in. The cell towers are down. They think once again, I don't know, maybe it has something to do with the comet.
Yeah. And so we're also introduced here to Hugh, who is married to Beth.
Yes.
And then we also meet Amir, who is a friend of theirs, and he brings Lori with him.
And then Mike is married to Lee, right?
Yes, absolutely. And then we're all at Mike's house.
Yes.
Mike's hosting.
So all the friends are at the table and they're having just side conversations, as I mentioned. And M knows a lot about comets. I think the comet really freaked her out. So she has done some studying. She starts talking about this comet that happened in 1923 in Finland. It passed and it started affecting the people. And the people would get lost. They wouldn't remember who they were. A woman called the police saying that my husband is not my husband. And they're like, what? And she's like, no, I killed my husband yesterday.
Yeah.
So I know it's not him. And then they couldn't arrest her because her husband was standing right there.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of interesting. I love that M like did a deep dive on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She would be great on this podcast.
She really would. I honestly want to be invited to their dinner party.
It sounded fun and they do sound like really good friends.
They do. They feel like friends that have known each other for like decades.
Yeah.
And they've been through like a lot of shit together. I love that.
We also find out that Beth is very into feng shui.
Oh my God. Yeah, she really is. And she takes it very seriously.
Yeah. She's a little bit of a hippie.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
But like a fun,
free spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that I will point out too is like they're setting up a lot of red herrings.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning. Like there's, which I think is really clever because there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of things to pay attention to where you're like, ooh, is that going to come into play? Is that going to come into play? During this whole, really right from the get-go.
Making my notes, it felt like I was solving a puzzle. There were so many things that I would note because I would just think maybe that just seems like it's going to come into play. So I'm going to write it down just in case, even if it leads to nowhere.
Yeah.
Beth does say right here, she points out the door. That's the feng shui thing. She doesn't like that there's a useless door here. And she mentions some type of lore about if you put a picture of someone you have unresolved issues with in front of this useless door, I forget what she said, that creates some type of weird energy or
yeah, like she didn't even want,
or,
she like didn't even want to stand near it.
Yeah, she's like, I don't even like the energy over here by this door.
And I believe it was a picture of Lee's sister that was like in the space where this door was. Mm-hmm. So she's kind of like telling them all that. And they're, I think they're humoring her.
Yeah.
I think they're used to her being, I don't want to say out there, but, having like a different perspective on life, And as this is all happening, the power goes out.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone is like kind of weirded out by this, but also not. Like they're like, huh. So they're like, well, we should probably just go see if like the rest of the neighborhood is out.
Right.
So they do. And the neighborhood is out, except for one house is lit up.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're all like kind of curious about that.
Yeah.
Hugh and Amir decide that they're going to go to this other house to see if they can use their phone because Hugh wants to talk to his brother because his brother has like physicist friends and his brother specifically told him that if anything weird happens during the comet to get a hold of him. Which
when he told the group that, they're all like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Which I would be too. Like, why would he have said that?
Yeah, everybody was kind of like, okay. And Hugh looked concerned. Mm-hmm. He looked like I would love to know what his brother specifically said because it feels like Hugh was like withholding information.
A little bit.
Yeah.
He also points out to the group that his phone cracked as well.
Yes, exactly.
His phone cracked, and when they go on their little venture to go see what's going on, they all crack open a box of glow sticks.
Yes.
There was a bunch of them. They had a bunch of colors to choose from, and they opened the box of blue glow sticks.
Yep.
I almost couldn't say that. And that will come into play.
Yes. So I also want to point out a little tidbit about this. When the group goes outside, when they're filming this and it looks really dark outside, it just so happened that Snickers was filming a commercial right there where his house is. And so he literally had to find like tiny pockets of darkness to shoot because Snickers had lit up everything so much for the commercial.
Does he live on a studio set?
Well, he lives in California.
That makes sense. He like in Hollywood.
Yeah, in Hollywood. Yeah. So like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So of course, one of the days that they're doing the outdoor stuff, Snickers rolls into town.
I'm just picturing like the biggest Snickers billboard like on his front lawn. So yes, M tells everyone else another thing that she read at this point. She starts talking more about comets. They're like, girl, you're obsessed.
I know, they really do. They're like, okay.
I wrote it down phonetically because I don't know how this is spelled, but she said it's a Tunguska event. That's what it's called. And it was a comet that exploded. Even though it didn't make contact with the Earth, it flattened all the trees in some other country.
For like with a 500-mile radius or something.
Yes. So now she's starting to unintentionally create a little bit of panic within the group too, because they do see something weird is going on.
Yeah.
And it's starting to scare them a little bit.
Yes, exactly.
We'll see the paranoia start to build.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so follow with me. Follow along here. So Hugh and Amir are going to go check out this house that's all lit up, right? Again, the brother, he wants to contact him, blah, blah, blah. So they decide to leave. The rest of the group doesn't want them to, but they're like, no, we need to figure out what's going on. Why does this one house have power? They probably have a generator, something like that. So they leave. The rest of the group is kind of freaking out a little bit. And Mike is like, everybody just calm down. It's going to be fine. They're like, well, how long have they been gone? And da-da-da-da. They hear a large like bang. And then a couple seconds later, the doorbell rings.
And Hugh is bleeding from the head.
Yeah, he looks very disoriented.
Very disoriented. Amir has a lockbox. and they're like, what is this lockbox? Amir claims that he saw Hugh, because they're like, where did you go? What did you do? Right? Amir claims that he saw a house that looked just like Mike's house, but blocks away.
Yeah.
And he saw Hugh put this box down and then leave. So he thought that it was Hugh's box. He picks it up. Hugh is saying, I never touched that box.
That's not my box.
Yeah.
Why did you take that?
Yeah. And also they're like, okay, you must have like, if it looked like our house, you must have just circled around the block. And he's like, no.
Yeah. They're like, you know, reaching for like logical explanations.
Yeah. So he doesn't know why he's bleeding. Hugh is also not really saying what he saw.
Yeah. He's avoiding the question for sure.
Mike ends up picking the lock from the lockbox, and there's a ping pong paddle inside. That's one of the things I wrote down where I was like, okay, this has to be something later on.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of little printed out photos of all of them, all the guests with numbers on the back, random numbers.
Yes.
And they start to ask Hugh, okay, you need to tell us what you saw. What did you see? What did you see?
Yes.
He just refuses to answer. And they keep badgering him. And finally he's like, I looked in the window. It did look like this house. I saw a dinner set for 8 people just like this. And they're like, oh, come on. And that's really when one of them is probably Mike, but one of them is like, no, you must have went in a circle and just came back here.
Yeah.
And he's like, I did not walk in a circle. I walked blocks away.
Yeah. And the group is also like, why would you come and bang on why are you kind of like trying to freak us out?
Yeah.
And, you know, they're trying to like rationalize what's happening.
Yeah. Because when someone banged on the door and they looked out the window, they didn't see anything.
Yes.
So they don't know what's going on here.
Hugh says something about like wanting to go back to use the phone.
Yes.
Which is questionable.
Yeah. Why would you immediately want to go back there and by yourself?
Right. So that is questionable. And then as this is happening, Lori looks outside and she sees like a large man outside the window.
Yeah.
And she gets really scared.
Yeah.
And so Kevin's like, I'm going to check this out. And he grabs a bat. Very, you know, there's like tension. And he opens it up.
Yeah.
And there's just a letter stuck to the door.
Yeah. There's a letter on the door and they look over and it's identical to the letter that Hugh in the house is writing, like had finished writing.
Yeah, because he basically wanted to bring it over to the house and be like to offer like you know, that they're not there to harm them, that they basically just need to use the phone and there's no whatever. Bad intentions, I guess.
Same paper, very distinct paper, now stuck on their door. You're like, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah,
I definitely in that moment was like, the first watch, I was trying to like make notes in my head of like all these little happenings.
Yes.
Because they're strange.
You know that they're going to come back into play, or you're hoping anyway.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, note of that for sure.
And I really like this because M starts rearranging the photos.
Immediately.
Yes.
She's like, oh, it's a puzzle.
Yeah, like and it doesn't surprise me because her character's, it's already like been demonstrated that she's like interested in figuring things out.
Yeah, and she's also open-minded, it sounds like, to maybe the fact that this could be supernatural.
Yeah.
Or something weird.
Yeah, no, for sure. And she's really perceptive. Like you can see like she really pays attention.
Yeah.
To people.
To details, yes, and to what's going on. And so they're sorting out these pictures with the numbers. They realized that Amir's picture was taken that night.
Yes, that freaked me out.
Me too, because he is looking at the camera. He is posing for that picture.
Yeah.
And he says, no, I bought that sweater today.
Yeah, exactly.
So creepy. This is it feels like the Twilight Zone.
It does, for sure. And the group is getting like very like worked up.
Rightfully so.
And I wrote Blondie because at first I didn't know her name when I first watched it. But M figures out that the handwriting on the back of the photos is hers. So she points that out.
She's like, this looks a lot like mine. I don't know.
And she also, she's talking to Kevin. And during the dinner portion of their little party, Lori, who is Kevin's ex, was at the table with them. And Lori was, I don't want to say she was instigating, but she definitely was not being a girl's girl.
No, she said some things that really got under my skin.
Me too. Me too. Like, for example, Mike mentions that he was in the show Roswell, and she's like, who were you? I don't remember seeing you. Like, what was your name? Like, she was really like dismissive and almost didn't believe him.
Yeah.
And then she asks M what she's been up to, and we find out that M had like a dance career. She was going to be an understudy, you know, and it didn't work out for her. And it almost felt like Lori was satisfied with that. It was very odd.
Yeah, she said specifically, "Oh, so that other girl, she's living your life, basically."
Yeah, it was really, it made me feel icky. I was like, girl,
that was a shitty thing to say.
Super shitty.
Yeah.
And Kevin brings up a story of when he was with Lori.
Yeah, that was really weird and not the right move.
Oh my God. And Em, you can just see how defeated she looks. Like you're supposed to have her back. Like, what are you doing? So when Em and Kevin are sitting together, she brings this up to him and he's dismissive about it and he gaslights the shit out of her. He's like, you know, we have bigger things to fry than that.
Yeah. We have bigger fish to fry, pal.
It felt,
he doesn't say that. But.
Well, the reason I bring it up is it felt so real. That's what I love about it. It all felt so authentic and real. Yeah. And I felt like I was sitting there with them. Yeah. In a way. Yeah. Because it's just really, like, the acting is so, like, especially for it being improvised. My God.
Yeah, they did a great job. And that whole scenario with that little triangle there, it's going to get worse.
Oh, it's going to get way worse. Yeah.
So Mike wants to go over to the other house now, but the other people in the party do not. Yeah. And he's like, we got to go see what's going on. I don't believe you, whatever. And at one point I wrote down, this line was so funny to me because they're going to split up. And I think maybe it was M that said, oh, I don't want to split up. And they're like, oh no, we're not splitting up. We're just going in 2 different groups.
Oh yeah. That like actually good. That cracked me up.
Yeah. So a group of them go outside and start going on a little adventure with their blue glow sticks. They walk a couple blocks and Mike finds the house and he knows that they have walked a couple blocks and he says, that's my house. Yep. It's not his house though. It's blocks away. So what is it? Yep. And then they stumble across a group of people, 4 figures, just like them, same as them, except they had red glow sticks across the street. So maybe they didn't get a great look at them, but they see 4 figures similar, but red instead of blue.
And it's important to note that it is Mike, Kevin, Lori, and M that go over there. Yes. And Hugh, Amir, Beth, and Lee are still at the original house.
Yes. And now they all go back to the house, right? And M mentions that there's a weird zone between the houses that was darker than anything else.
Yes, that there's like a dark...
I think they keep saying dark space.
Space, yeah.
Yeah. So Amir and Hugh are like, oh yeah, we went through that when we went out there too. Okay, keep that in mind. Literally everything we say, keep it in mind.
Yeah, because everything is important. And I want to say Amir, because you see Amir and Hugh like kind of whispering to each other. And so it's kind of sus. They're like talking to each other and we're not really sure like what the hell is going on.
Yeah. And so then Beth says, oh, Hugh's brother left a book at our house and I was going to ship it and I left it in the back seat of the car. So in Hugh's car, there's some type of book that's about, I don't know, space and comets.
Yes, it's called Gravitation, an Introduction to Current Research.
Yes. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Now they go into, I don't know if you have this all written down. I started writing down words they were saying.
Oh, like Schrodinger's cat. He talks about that, like the theory of that. And he does talk about decoherence. I don't know much of that stuff, so I'm just going to say, if you want to know more about physics, just Google it.
I think that's what physicists do. Just Google it.
And I also want to say that this movie is not an accurate representation of any of those things. Okay. So sitting here and trying to like explain what they are doesn't matter anyways.
Okay, that's good to know. Because I'm over here thinking, oh, I need to do a little research on this so I know what they're talking about. But yeah, they mention quantum physics and they do say in the movie, so I guess it's whether this is true or not, they're talking about it's important to this story that decoherence is basically 2 states existing separate, right? And that a huge part of that is that they don't cross paths.
Yeah. So essentially it's like there are multiple, like, I think the theory is that there's like multiple universes that are all of the same, but they can't meet each other. Right. So people from each universe can't meet each other. I'm using the word universe. I'm sure that's not right, but yes, they can't interact with each other.
So if that's decoherence, then I'm guessing coherence, the title of the movie, might be the opposite of that.
I think so. Yes. Oh, and it says, There's 2 separate realities until the comet passes.
Yes.
So that's also very important. And Mike suggests that because if there is an interaction, that they will collapse, that the I keep saying universes, but the timelines, let's just say the timelines, timelines will collapse. So Mike says, because we've interacted with this other group already, we're collapsing. Basically, we're collapsing on each other.
Yeah, they're all believing it now. And now they're all starting to we're seeing the paranoia escalate. And he suggests that they go over to the other house and kill them.
Yeah, I mean, he immediately is like, we need to go kill them because if I know Mike, I know myself, he's going to want to come and kill me.
Like, damn.
Whoa, Mike.
Very introspective of you, I guess.
I guess.
Well, he also says, if other me is drinking, that's what he says. If other me is drinking, then I don't want that Mike to come over here.
It was like that was like a heartbreaking moment for me. It
really was.
To hear him say like that he's afraid of what other version of him is over there. Like that actually really did make me sad.
Think about admitting that, really coming to terms with that. He does say half joking here, but it's only half. He's only half joking.
No, he's half joking for sure. I think he can be capable of some interesting things for sure.
So they start going over different realities and how they might be slightly opposite than what they're experiencing there.
Yes. And they mentioned that other group doesn't have the book.
Yes, because they're like, okay, they didn't do everything exactly the same because they chose the box of red glow sticks. It's different. It can be different than what we're doing.
Yep.
And clearly there's a delay in time where, the note that Hugh was writing was already on their door, right? So, and we already witnessed that. So that means they're a little bit ahead, maybe?
Yeah, like they're choosing similar paths, but different at different times.
Right.
Also, Lee is like, I need to go take a nap.
Yeah.
So Lee's like...
She said enough.
Yeah, Lee's like, I'm pretty sure Lee's had some of the ketamine. She goes to take a nap. I really liked M because M is like optimistic. Like M, I think, is kind of the voice of reason in the group. Whereas Mike, I think, is off the rails at this point, and he suggests blackmailing himself.
Yeah, he wants Hugh's car keys so he can go to the other house, take the book out of their car so that they never get it and they never have this conversation and that they're never going to go over to their house to kill them.
Yes, exactly. And he has something over
himself.
Mike. He has a secret that he's going to blackmail other Mike with. We don't know exactly what that is yet. We really don't know anything about it, but Mike is on a mission.
Mike is the main one freaking out, and M is the main one who is collected.
And Mike, while he's going on and on about this whole blackmailing idea,
Kevin,
he's telling Kevin this, and Kevin even tells him like, this is a bad idea. And he says very quietly something about Beth and him 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Leave it to your imagination.
Beth is married to Hugh.
Yes.
Not Mike.
No, exactly.
So now we do find out that Lee did in fact take some of the ketamine.
Yeah, explains why she's so tired.
Yeah, did give her some of it. She's a little drowsy. Then the whole group is like, wait, what? Did you put it in our food? And it's not even that hysterical, I guess. M says, I'm sorry to ask this, but did you put any in our food? Because that would explain why we're all paranoid, like why we're all having a weird reaction together.
Right. And well, Beth is like, hell no, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And also ketamine doesn't make you hallucinate. That's what they all are kind of discussing. And I guess they all tripped on mushrooms like years ago. And that's the reason why they're like, oh, maybe she did drug us. But that was like a planned trip.
Right.
So this would be a different situation, obviously.
Right.
But I think that's a valid question.
It is, because you're like, oh, perfect. This would explain everything.
Absolutely. And it's another like red herring. And I like that they brought it back to the ketamine.
Yeah. Yeah. And Hugh says, even if they were tripping, they would not all have a group hysteria from taking that. And there's
still a lot of ketamine in the little vial.
Yes. And they do mention here that something about in order to like overdose on it, you'd have to take the whole thing.
Yes. Yes.
Or in order to have like a crazy reaction, you'd have to take the whole thing.
Yes, exactly. Ketamine is so scary to me. I saw people fall into K-holes when I was in high school.
I don't know much about that. I know, never mind. I'm not going to get into that. It scares me because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. I just remember in high school, like Special K was like a thing.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. And I've witnessed people go into K-holes and it's terrifying. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, well, I am never, ever, ever touching that.
I'll have questions for you after this.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Okay. So
Amir and Hugh go into a room together, and we see them put their red glow sticks in their pockets.
Yes.
They all had blue glow sticks, right?
That's right.
And so then they even notice that box of red glow sticks. They say to each other, like, yeah, they didn't even open this box of red glow sticks.
Yes, exactly. And M also notices that Lee and Beth are having a conversation that they've already had.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Ooh, even creepier.
Uh-huh.
So Mike comes back and he says, yeah, I just dropped off the letter and ran at the house. Because Kevin is like, you've only been gone for like 5 minutes. And Mike's like, no, I've been gone for like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's so much here. We're like, what is going on? I cannot wait to find out.
I love the layered timelines.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so fun.
And so now Lori starts to suspect Amir and Hugh because she's seeing them act weird.
Yeah. And Hugh is packing up the box of photos and the book, and Amir and him sneak out of the house.
Yeah. Not sus at all.
Right. It is. You really do start to wonder if they're like, I don't know. When I first watched this, I'm like, are they aliens? Are they shapeshifters? Like, I couldn't figure it out.
Right now, I was thinking like, oh, they're evil. Like, they're like, oh, we got them. But I don't think that's what was happening here.
No. It's not.
They weren't looking at it from that perspective. They're looking at it like, oh my gosh, this box isn't even open. Look.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So here, Lori is the first one to call out, I believe, that she's starting to suspect Amir and Hugh there's something off about them.
Yeah, that they may be like different person or different people, like, or they're not their real version or something.
Yeah, because they are all believing the lore now. That something's going on in some type of shift in time, parallel universe, whatever.
Yeah, they're not entirely sure what it is, but they absolutely know that this is like not normal, what's happening.
Yeah.
And M has a quiet conversation with Mike, and she starts to think that her and Mike are the only original people from the house because so many different people have left and come back. And so she's really trying to decipher right now who's who.
Yeah.
And I think that like suspicion is like kind of like throughout the whole group. Like everybody is sort of suspicious of the other.
Yes. Every single person, I think, at this point is a little sus, and they feel sus about the other people.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of time spent looking at the photos, and like M is really trying to figure it out. Yeah. And I really like admired her determination to try to understand, because she's not freaking out.
Yeah, she doesn't look like she is outwardly.
No, yeah. She seems like she seems really like, I just need to figure out what's going on.
It reminds me of the game Among Us. Like, they're trying to find the imposter.
Oh my God. I love that game. I used to rage on that game.
Do you remember I played with you a couple times? I think you played when we did the Twitch streams.
Yeah. It was so fun. Yeah.
I was the blind assassin. If you know, you know.
I got into like massive fights with Brandon Cutler. Like just raging. Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, I believe Kevin wants to leave by himself, right? So you mentioned earlier how this was the scene where the director gave him the motive of you're trying to leave.
Yeah.
And Emma's trying to stop him.
Yeah.
And my next note is Mike is now getting drunk.
Oh, yeah.
So he's just, I don't blame him. Like, that sucks, because I know his character was sober here.
He was, yeah.
And so he's just like, I've had it. And I guess if you feel like the universe is about to collapse on you, maybe you're just like, whatever.
I can't wait to blow your mind about Mike.
I can't wait.
I don't know if I should insert it here or later. I feel like I should insert it as we go, because at the end, it's going to be like so confusing.
Whenever you feel it.
Okay. This Mike is not our original Mike.
Okay.
This is not
that
OG
makes
Mike.
Sense. This is for me. I wanted to know this now. That's perfect. So in the viewer's mind, in my mind, it looks like he's had enough. He's going to just start drinking. Right. But really what you're saying is he is from another house.
He's from another house.
And he's just the alcoholic version of Mike in another universe.
He is another version. Yes.
Got it. Oh boy.
Yeah. So not OG Mike. Yes.
Okay. And M says at this point, the clues are still in the house because they can't find the lockbox, right? Amir and Hugh like took it somewhere and left secretly.
Yes.
Real sus.
Very sus. Yeah.
And yeah, she's like, wait, there are still clues here. Here we cut to Lori is privately instigating to Kevin about his girlfriend M. She's flirting. She's saying inappropriate things like, oh, how are things with your new girlfriend? That's not inappropriate, but
I would have.
when she continues,
Oh,
she's such a little bitch.
she says to her, like, so how's M doing besides being tall?
Oh, yeah. How is she? Tall?
Bitch, shut the fuck up.
First of all, there's nothing fucking wrong with being tall, but also she's just trying to be shitty.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And this is the inappropriate part. She starts making little references like, oh, yeah, like all the fun we had, something about their past, inappropriate.
Yeah.
She goes to kiss him. He does push her away, but you're still like, what the fuck? Beth is witnessing this.
Yes, Beth sees it, and like a good sister, Beth talks to M about it.
Yeah, she doesn't tell her all the details, but she tells him like, maybe you should go. They were having a little conversation, just letting you know.
Yes.
Oh, I wrote down, she says, sometimes people just fit well, implying Lori and Kevin do. And that's before she went to kiss him.
That's right. And also important to note, that is not the original Kevin, and it is not the original Lori. These are different versions.
I'm like,
yeah, they're different versions.
She also says here, sorry, I'm crossing all kinds of boundaries. No shit.
You know what you're doing.
You damn well know, Lori.
That really bothered me. That whole scene really bothered me because even though he like rejected her, I feel like he could have been way more like overt with that.
Yeah, what really bothers me, but now it's probably I don't know, maybe a different Kevin. I don't know, because M does go up to Kevin and is like, hey, Beth told me, she didn't tell me much, but she said, maybe I should come ask you what was up.
Yeah.
And Kevin is very deflective here. And I wrote down, the truth would have probably caused a fight between the girls for sure, because fuck Lori.
Oh, I would have gone after her for sure.
Absolutely, as you should. But now you just lied to your girlfriend for no reason.
Yeah, like, that was like, you didn't have to.
You could have just said, yeah, she was being flirtatious. She went to kiss me. I pushed her away.
That's all you have to say.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
But also, was that a different Kevin? I don't know.
It was definitely not the original Kevin, but he still handled that really poorly. And the truth is always the right avenue. Once you start lying, especially in a relationship, like that's it, man.
And exactly. It's for real. And especially when you just made something worse, because you did push her away, but because you lied, now it's suspicious.
Absolutely. And that makes me, if I were M and I found out later from someone else, right?
Yeah.
That he did that.
Yeah.
I would be like, okay, so you're not even giving me an option to react to this.
Right.
You're taking that away from me.
Yeah.
And just lying. And I think that is like such a pussy move.
Yeah.
You know?
Is.
I didn't like it.
The only thing I can think of is, what if that Kevin that she confronts didn't even experience that with Lori, and she thinks that she's just, because she doesn't say what happened, remember? She just says, Beth didn't tell me much, but she just told me to come ask you about that interaction.
Well, Kevin was still in the house, so Kevin hasn't left the house. So it's still it's the same Kevin that Lori comes on to. It's different Kevin from the original group.
Got it. Are you following?
I know it's kind of confusing. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't think Kevin's an asshole. I just think he handled the situation kind of poorly.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He definitely did. So now they go out to the cars and the windows are smashed. I think they hear glass shatter.
Yeah,
right?
they hear like some wreckage happening.
Yeah, some wreckage outside.
Some wreckage, yeah.
And it's Hugh's car. The window is smashed. Bummer. M goes to their car and gets a ring out of the glove box that Kevin gave to her.
This part freaked me out.
Oh my gosh, yes. I was like, why? Oh yeah, okay, I remember the scene now.
Yes, dude.
So do you want to set the scene?
Yeah, so M is getting the ring out of the glove box and she bumps into Kevin and she's like, hey, so is Hugh's car okay? And he's like, what? And they both at the same time realize that they're looking at different versions.
Yeah.
That they're not from the same reality. Kevin looks terrifying.
I don't know if it's just the lighting on his face.
Oh, it's scary.
He looks like an alien.
He looks so scary, but when you know what's happening, to me, he looks very scared.
They're both scared and they both look scary in that lighting.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, because she's like, you just checked on Hugh's car, and he doesn't respond.
It's my favorite part of the whole movie.
They just stare at each other in silence for seconds, but it feels like minutes, and they just slowly start like backing away. Oh my gosh.
Dude, couldn't you feel like when that scene, I felt
the tension.
Like, do you ever like when you're in a moment of like extreme fear, you get frozen
when you're coming to a realization about something.
Yeah, it's like you're piecing it together, and you, like all the blood like drains from your face. I thought they did the scene so well, and it actually scared the crap out of me.
It was very scary.
Yeah,
very creepy and very well done, and that just shows how simple a terrifying scene can be.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
So now they go back inside, and Lori sees someone coming from outside. And it's Amir and Hugh.
Right.
They tell the same story as they did before about Hugh hitting his head. We already heard the story.
Yes, exactly.
They all just came in from the car, so what the fuck? And Lee points out that the Band-Aid on Hugh's head is not the same Band-Aid that she gave him earlier.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, little shit like this. It's just, I love this so much.
I know, it's so good. And they have both glow sticks. So they like explain to them that because they pull out blue glow sticks and they pull out red glow sticks.
Yeah, so they're basically trying to prove that they are from this house.
Yeah, because they do believe they are from the house.
Yeah, and they're like, look, we have both. We have the red and we also have the blue. Look, you didn't even open the box of red.
Exactly. And so what the group is realizing now is that there are multiple versions.
Yeah, because here I was so confused, and maybe you know the answer, I'm not sure, but it sounded like they were trying to convince them they were from the blue house, and they were saying they took the red glow sticks from a different house. But I was also thinking, well, you could have been from the red house the first time you came back, and that's why you still have the red. I don't know. This might be very confusing.
No. So there are 5 versions.
5 houses?
Yes, there are 5 houses. 5 houses, 5 versions of these people. So
if you're watching on YouTube, my mouth is just open the whole time. Like,
yeah, there are 5 versions. Hugh and Amir, they change multiple times. We see different versions of them multiple times in the movie.
Okay.
The only person throughout this entire film that is from our original group is M. She never changes.
She never changes?
She never changes. We are following the same version of her.
That makes sense.
The whole movie. Now, is she in the wrong houses? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's always her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now they decide they need to make some type of unique marker for their house so they can mark, like, this is the right house. This is where you came from.
Yeah. And they realize that the other houses have also done that already.
Which is the lockbox.
Yes, we find out that it's Lee's lockbox.
Lee's lockbox. They need to find pictures of themselves. They're gonna take Yahtzee dice, I think, and roll numbers, and that's the random numbers they have on the back of their pictures.
Yes, and they don't have a picture of Amir, so they take the picture of Amir.
Also, just another little shitty thing. Lori's like, oh, I have this picture in my wallet that I wrote my like old banking account number on. That's unique. It's a picture of Kevin.
That is so creepy to me.
M went, no, it's okay. I'll use this picture. She didn't want to cut a picture of her and Kevin up.
Yeah.
But now she's like, no, it's fine. I'll cut this one.
I mean, that is...
Why do you have a picture of your ex in your wallet? It's an old picture. Maybe she forgot about it. That's possible.
But let's piece together her behavior over the night.
It's the other behavior that adds up.
Like, I also wonder, like, because Amir brings her, I also wonder if, like, before the events of the night, if she asked Amir to like hang out and he just brought her, as opposed to him coming on to her, because I think she wanted to get close to Kevin again.
Oh, possibly.
Like, I feel like she wasn't even into Amir.
Yeah,
she certainly doesn't seem like it.
I want to know Lori's backstory.
I do.
They also decide in the lockbox they need to make basically like a CAPTCHA. So like where you have to pick a random image for security purposes.
I hate those things, by the way.
Oh my gosh, fucking hate them.
Especially when they tell you that you're not right and they just keep making you do it over and over again.
It's like or they say choose the picture of the bus, and there's like this much of the bus in one frame, and you can't decide if you should select it or not.
I've like full on closed my computer and walked away before.
Or the letters and numbers, you really can't read it.
Yes.
They do let you usually refresh, but still.
Or the crosswalks, and they like it doesn't make any, or the bridges or the cars, and none of it like anyway. I am not a robot. I am a human. You're a robot. You are.
There are some pictures that I'm like, wait, it'll be like choose the bus, and I'm like, wait, is this a bus?
Is it a bus?
What is this picture of? I can't even tell. Where did you get this?
irrationally angry.
I also love when they have those. I know this is a side tangent. I love when they have those on things where it's like you're trying to make a payment. Is a robot trying to pay you? I'm confused about that. I really am.
I don't understand it
Are
at all.
robots sending you money? Because why would you be mad about that?
I couldn't even tell you.
So Lee wonders how different their numbers are from the other houses. She's curious.
Yeah.
And M's like, yeah, good point. So now M takes both lists because she has the block box from the other house, I think, and then she has theirs that they just made.
Yes, exactly.
So she starts comparing the numbers, different color markers. Each picture has different numbers on the back. And then she starts asking people just casually and separately, hey, what number was on the back of your picture again? Oh my gosh, I fucking love this scene.
I loved it too. Yeah, it was really good.
And different people are saying different numbers. So we see like the first house, like house A on top in a green marker or whatever color.
Yeah.
House B on the bottom in a red marker. And people are saying different numbers and she's circling them like, oh, this person is from that house. This person is from that house.
I thought that was so clever that she pieced it together like that.
It was so cool. Meaning they're all from different houses and they don't even know it. They think they are in the right house.
Yes. And so Beth and Lee are from the house that they're in.
So different people saying different numbers. She's piecing this together. And unfortunately, she's sharing this with Mike, who is drunk at this time.
Oh, yeah.
And she thinks that her, M, and Mike are from the same house.
Yes.
So she's telling him like, hey,
we're like, it's only me and you. We're the only ones from the original house.
Meanwhile, he's just lit. Like,
and he's also like, at this point, his inhibitions are out the window. He doesn't even care. Like, it kind of sets him off a little bit, actually.
Yeah. And then she also thinks that Amir and was it Hugh, I think, that are from a third house?
Yes.
So at this point, we know there's at least 3. You said eventually there's 5, right?
Yes. And they figure out that Beth and Lee are from the house that they're currently in.
Okay.
So the house they're in right now is, we'll just call it Beth and Lee's house.
Okay. And so they kind of start proving this, I guess. Because they realize that Hugh's phone isn't cracked anymore.
Yes.
And that's what M, I think, says to Mike maybe. She's like, remember his phone was cracked earlier. It's not now.
Yes, exactly. And she also starts to piece together the dark space.
Yes.
Or the dark matter that they walk through.
Yeah. She thinks the dark space in between the houses is like a roulette wheel. And that they need to get back to their original houses before the comet passes or they're going to be stuck.
They're going to be stuck.
Which I guess they were different. Each reality had a different version of them. So yeah, I guess you wouldn't want to just go to a random one.
Would you?
No, unless that house seemed like it was all the same stuff. But yeah, for Mike, for example.
Yeah, or like, but you don't know when you leave that house in the morning, what if your whole life is different?
That's true. That's very
true.
What
if someone died in that reality? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very true.
That is so scary, but also so fascinating to me.
But what if it's a better life?
True. Well,
make some phone calls. Oh wait, they can't.
As we go along, we'll see M make a very interesting decision.
Yeah.
So
Mike's blackmail note gets delivered at this time.
Yes, there's a knock on the door.
Knock on the door. It's Mike's blackmail note. Of course, Hugh reads it. And it says, it's in code, but it says Beth's name. And it says something about like Beth, 12 years ago, don't let it happen, book something. I don't know. But Beth's name is in it. So he's like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, yeah. Hugh is pissed.
Right. You know, something weird is going on.
Yeah.
And he keeps pestering. And finally, I forget how it comes, who says it first. Was it Mike that just confessed?
I mean, Mike says, I've fucked your wife in every reality. Like,
gosh.
He does. He says something like that.
I wrote that down. I was like, what a fucking asshole, but also what a line.
And I thought it was a great line. And I believe that was a written line.
Okay.
So there are certain lines in it that were written, and that was one of them. And I mean, Hugh is like losing his shit. Mike is drunk and doesn't really care. All his inhibitions are out the window, and everyone in the group knew about it.
That's another thing. Hugh was so pissed because everyone knew but him, and he's like, what the fuck? Their excuse is that they thought that he already knew. And obviously, I can understand, because if you did think someone already knew that, you're not going to go bring it up. Like, oh, by the way, this really painful thing. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, and also, I'm trying to figure out if Hugh and Beth were together at that time.
It sounded like he said before they were together.
That's what I thought.
She didn't cheat on him, but the fact that it's been 12 years, your wife hooked up with one of your friends a long time ago and kept it from you, I understand why that would feel like a betrayal.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a random guy that I don't know. I don't know the whole story, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know know how I would feel about it. It wouldn't be like life ending for me.
She didn't technically cheat on him, I will say that, but she definitely was not forthcoming with all the information.
Yeah, that's true. I almost like, I felt like Hugh's reaction was pretty normal.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
I feel like anyone would be like really pissed about that. But I also like, I don't think it's like relationship ending. Do you?
I don't
Like marriage ending?
It depends on the individuals, honestly.
Yeah, true.
Can he get over it? That's on him.
That is true.
I mean, on them, I guess, as a couple.
Yeah, and if this version of Hugh will let it go.
Yeah.
It's an interesting friend group.
It really is. There's definitely some drama.
Yeah.
So this is where I wrote down, Mike said, if there are a million different realities, I've slept with your wife in every one. That he might not get over.
That was a lot. Like, to me, like, because there's tact, obviously.
Yes.
And I felt like the way that, well, and also Mike has been a bit of like, he's got an ego.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I felt like that was super shitty. He could have gone about it so much gentler, or just like, hey man, listen, I never told you because, to be honest, I was scared to tell you, or I didn't want to ruin your fucking marriage, or and really, to be honest, yes, that is his friend, but I feel like it's more on her to tell him. Like, I agree. That's your husband. Like,
okay, you guys got together after this happened between us. That's your story to tell your partner now.
Yeah.
Like, what am I gonna do? Come in and be like, by the way.
Yeah. Like, I feel like she should have been like,
that was on her, honestly.
Yeah. You know, and I felt like his anger towards Mike, obviously Mike saying that just threw him over the edge.
Yeah.
What a little prick.
Hugh starts beating Mike's ass, rightfully so.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
During this time, or I don't know if it was like right before this, right after, whatever, they do start questioning each other about the secret objects in the lock boxes.
Yes.
And they do realize that each person is saying something different.
Yeah, like there's an oven mitt.
Yeah, he was like a stapler.
Yeah.
And M's like, nah, that wasn't it.
Yep.
We're all saying different ones.
Yep.
Out of nowhere, like Mike is left alone for a second. Out of nowhere, another Mike comes into his house and starts beating the shit out of that Mike.
Yes.
And then runs away.
Yeah, because he was going to try to kill him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just like he thought would happen. I don't know which Mike that was at this time, but there were two Mikes.
Yes.
So they definitely crossed paths.
And Beth's nose starts bleeding here.
Yeah.
Which, did they explain that?
I don't think so. He pointed it out when I think when Hugh that might be what happened. Maybe Hugh said, did you sleep with her? And then there's like, no one's really giving a direct answer.
Yeah.
And then he goes, well, why is her nose bleeding right now? So it sounded like maybe that happens when she's stressed or lying. I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah. Her nose starts bleeding. Lori is like losing it.
Yeah.
Like Lori starts like losing it.
Yeah.
And M goes to open the door and she sees Hugh's original note.
Again.
Mm-hmm. And she leaves.
She's like, I'm out.
Yeah, she realizes that like this house now is chaos.
Yeah, and she knows that she's not from that house.
Exactly.
She wants to go find her original house.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes house to house looking for the right object in the box at first. She's opening the lock boxes.
Yeah, I think she sees a monkey in one of them, a little monkey thing. Yeah.
She wants to know that she's in the right place.
Yep.
And she looks in different windows. She sees herself. She sees the other friends. Mm-hmm. They're arguing in some. In one, are they like tied up?
Okay, so yeah. So there's all these like different... Essentially, I didn't piece it together right away, but the comet is passing over.
Yeah.
M knows that it's going to be completely over them very soon.
Yeah.
She knows that she's in the wrong reality. She knows she can't get back to her reality. Mm-hmm. So she starts shopping for a new reality.
Yeah. She looks into one of the windows where everyone looks happy.
So each window, each house that M looks into are like different scenarios of what the groups are. Mm-hmm. And like every time they did it, like the director would just throw like different scenarios at them and been like, oh, in this reality, Amir and Lori are together and Lori is now with Kevin. And so Amir's like really upset about it. Or in this reality, Lori and Kevin are really happy together and they love each other. And in this reality, they all get tied up. So like he would just throw out different things and like basically at the end, I suppose those are the ones that they picked.
Yeah.
I think that's so neat.
That is really cool. And so M finally finds a house where everyone looks happy. Mm-hmm. And she sees that, number one, Lori and her man are not all over each other in this reality.
Yep.
Number two, her and Kevin look really happy.
Yeah.
So M is already in that reality.
Yes.
With Kevin, right?
Yep.
And time is of the essence here.
Yes.
This version of M that's peaking is about to get stuck, possibly in a reality where she already exists.
Yes.
Which also is terrifying, because what do you even do?
I mean, she does make an executive decision here.
Also, though, you could do twin magic.
I know.
If you could get the other you on board.
But you would have to explain to the other one. And who knows if the other one would even want that.
Yeah. So she decides this is a reality she wants to live in.
After her little shopping spree.
Where everyone is happy.
Yeah.
And so she sneaks inside the house and she gets Beth's ketamine from earlier.
Yep.
Now from inside that house, we get their POV, right? We go back to, now it's the group.
Yes.
And we hear glass shatter from outside. It also is implied here, I think, that this is earlier in the night too, right?
Yeah, it's a different timeline.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
So we hear glass shatter. We go outside and we see that Hugh's car windows are smashed. Darn. Could someone have been trying to get a book or cause a distraction? Maybe a little bit of both. And they don't mention the book, so that's gone, I'm assuming. M from this house goes to get the ring out of her car, just like she did in the other realities. And I don't even know how to describe it. I keep saying like other M, this M.
Real M. We'll say real M is our OG M.
Okay.
From the original house, the one that went shopping for a new reality.
And then that house M
will be Happy M.
Happy M?
Happy M.
Okay. So OG M, real M, is in the back seat waiting, and she injects that one with the ketamine, presumably all of it. Just like they had mentioned earlier, that's how to make someone like really have a reaction.
Yeah, to like knock her out, I would imagine. Yeah.
I thought to kill her, but we'll get to that.
We're getting there. Yeah.
So now M comes back in the house. I was going to say AM comes back in the house, but it's NM. That's confusing. M comes back in the house, a version of M.
Yeah.
And Beth is like, you came through that door? Like, where did you just come from? What's going on? She's like, oh, I was just, checking whatever. You came through that door? That's so weird. That's the door to nowhere. Referencing earlier how she said, I don't like that door. I don't like the energy of that door. It's a door it's a useless door.
Yep.
Okay. So now at this point, what are we calling her? OGM.
OGM.
Notices that Happy M, not so happy anymore, has crawled back into the house.
Yes.
So she's not dead, but she's fucked up. And she follows her into the bathroom. Happy M is trying to crawl. She can't even stand, right? OGM bashes her face in with the top of the back of the toilet tank. Ugh, I can't even imagine.
It was pretty brutal.
Yeah. She puts her in the tub and then just closes the curtains. She sets her ring on the counter, not really sure why. Maybe she was washing her hands, I think, because there was blood on them.
Yeah, I think she was washing her hands.
Sets her ring on the counter, walks out of the bathroom, and the next scene we see, she wakes up on the couch. You're like, oh shit, what's about to happen? There's no one around. She goes into the kitchen. Lee is making breakfast. Doesn't seem concerned.
Nope.
No one's mentioning, hey, there was another you in the bathtub. That's crazy. So M goes to walk toward that bathroom. Beth walks out, clearly having been in the shower.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing there was not an M in that bathtub.
Nope.
And so she goes outside and sees Kevin. He seems happy, whatever. And he hands her ring. Like, oh, I found this, on the bathroom counter. Here's your ring. And his phone is ringing. And he's like, oh, that's weird. And he goes to answer it as we see M kind of fiddling with that ring. She already has the ring on her finger.
Yep.
But she's holding another ring that he handed to her. And he answers the phone and then just looks at M. And the movie ends.
And that's it.
So we know that it was the other M calling him. And that's why he looked at her knowing this is not the real M.
Yeah. And that's it.
And that's it.
And
it was so fucking good.
I know. It was so good. And I feel like, I don't know. I feel like this is the kind of movie you have to watch more than once to really get it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm hoping to God, you guys, that we have made this clear, because even I love this movie, but I'm not going to lie to you. This was the hardest breakdown I think we've ever done.
We had to cut so many times because we were fucking up the order that things happened in.
Getting confused halfway through. We're like, wait.
it's hard to tell this whole story like this. That's why we highly recommended that you watch it first, because I will say, I remember the first time I watched this, I loved it.
Yeah.
But I could not tell you what exactly happened. I remembered that M was the main character. I knew that she was like a double somehow.
Yeah.
But I didn't remember all the details, and I definitely did not remember all the things that happened in this movie until I rewatched it.
Yeah. When I first saw it, to be honest with you, I didn't think M was the main character. I looked at it more as an ensemble.
Okay.
But then when I rewatched it, it was clear to me that M was our lead.
Yeah.
Which is funny because the actress didn't even realize it.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it could just be like a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's just because we start off with her, we end with her.
Yeah.
She's the one putting everything together.
Yeah.
It feels like she was the main.
She definitely
main character.
was. She definitely was.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize it, and she says she didn't realize it either. That's what I read, that she didn't know that she was the lead.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Based on the way they filmed it, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. It was a 5-day shoot.
Wow.
They shot all of that in 5 days.
Okay.
Again, in the living room of the director's house.
And it took, you said, like over a year to edit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so a little bit of a backstory as to why the director took this approach.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he was frustrated with Hollywood. He was tired of jumping through hoops, being told no. He wasn't like from a famous family or anything like that. So it just makes making movies difficult.
Yeah.
And he just said, fuck it, I'm going to make my own movie.
I love that.
With no budget. He was like, I'm just going to do it my way so I don't have to answer to anyone. I can make this exactly how I want to. And it makes me appreciate the movie so much.
Because as an independent wrestler for many, many years, you feel that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really hard when your creativity is put in somebody else's hands, when you're being told no constantly, when you're just trying to create something and it is like everything is working against you. And I'm really inspired by the fact that he just said, fuck it, I'm going to make this movie. And it ended up being awesome.
Hell yeah.
It took a year to write though.
Whew, I believe it. It is so layered. It's so layered and complicated. That doesn't surprise me that it took a year. If he wrote that in 5 days, I'd be like, okay, well, you're a fucking genius.
Oh yeah.
Not that he's not already, but.
And the concept came from, he says it's like, the idea was like you looking out your window and like seeing yourself.
Which is a concept that I'm obsessed with.
Me too.
I love that.
I know. I'm like afraid of what another version of me would be like, to be honest. I feel like she might be a little bit unhinged. Apparently Amir has a really long monologue that they cut from the film.
Oh, okay.
And it apparently was really good.
Oh, damn. Just for time?
I think it's probably for time, or maybe it didn't fit or something like that. Another fun little like interesting thing is, because it was shot kind of unconventionally, the conversation at the beginning where Em is on the phone and she's talking to Kevin is like a real conversation they're having. Like he's on the other end of the phone.
I love that.
It's not like, because typically you would shoot your side and then they would shoot their side. At least that's how I've always done it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was neat that they're actually on a phone.
Yeah.
Talking to each other. I love this shit, man.
Me
Like
too,
I am
me
like
too.
so into it. Okay.
I love that you really did a deep dive in this movie.
Okay, I have another fun one.
Yeah.
So again, this is improvised, right? So there was a take they had to cut where the original group, I'm sorry I'm laughing, but the original group wouldn't let Amir and Hugh back into the house for 45 minutes. They would not let them in. They were like, hell no, you're not coming back in here.
That was just their task for the day and they took it seriously? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
I guess so. Or they just maybe like they all just agreed in the moment, like we shouldn't let these guys back in the house for whatever reason.
Meanwhile, they're outside like, wait, we have something to say.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then, okay, so I read an interview of the directors. It was on, I think it was on like Yahoo. I'll link everything in the show notes. But this is a quote, okay? So he explains how many characters from the original group are present from the end. So I think this might clear up a couple of things.
Okay.
So Em, Lori, and Kevin are from the original group.
Okay.
Because they and Mike went out as a foursome to check out the house. The camera follows them when they say, we've got to check out the house. So the four of them went out, came back to a new house, and then Mike left after that. So that's not the original Mike, because Mike says, I had a napkin in his box.
Okay.
So different Mike. So you actually get a very clear breakdown of who's from which house when they're having this screaming fight at the end. Mm-hmm. When they ask, what was the item that you had?
Yes.
So you know right there that Hugh and Amir are from a house that has stapler. Beth and Lee had an oven mitt, and they're left, and they've never left that house.
Yeah.
So this is the oven mitt house. And then Kevin, Lori, and Em are all from the ping pong paddle house. And then Mike was from a napkin house. So at that point in the film, those are who the originals were.
Wow.
So I know that sounded really confusing.
But no, if you've watched the movie, I think that will help you kind of put it together. Because to me, that's very, very helpful and interesting.
Yeah, I thought so, because so I realized, or at least I thought at the beginning, when Hugh and Amir come back and Hugh is injured, I didn't think that was actually Hugh.
Yeah,
like
same.
He seemed different.
I assume that was Hugh and Amir were from the red glow stick house, right?
We never see the originals ever again. Hugh and Amir. We never see them.
Well, yeah, when they come back, I also thought that maybe they were going to show something that happened, which they didn't, but I guess it could be implied. We never know why Hugh was bleeding, right?
No.
I think that's why I started to think they were evil, because I was like, oh, they killed the original Hugh and Amir and they got into a fight.
I wonder if did he fight himself? Because wasn't he holding the box? And remember, Amir said, I saw you with the box.
Yeah, but I thought that was just a different Hugh that he saw.
I think it was, but I wonder if that Hugh and this Hugh got into something.
He never says.
But
he also was being really weird about it. So maybe he didn't want to say, yeah, I fought myself.
Did Mike punch him when they got into the fight?
He could have.
So I'm really trying to understand. Like that is why this movie is so friggin' good, and why people still talk about it.
Yeah.
Because there are all these like little things where you're like, wait.
This is definitely one of those movies where I could understand why somebody would go to Google and be like, Coherence ending explained.
Oh, YouTube. I went to YouTube. I remember when I first watched it, me and Blade went on YouTube. We were like, someone needs to explain this ending because I don't get it.
Yeah, you're like, I need to have a conversation with someone about this, so I'm going on YouTube. Hopefully we can be that conversation for you.
Yeah. One thing that I really appreciated on like my second and third watch is you really start to catch all like the little details that you might not pay attention to the first go around, right? Like, and not even the big ones with the glow sticks and stuff like that, but like the little things where you're going, wait a second, hold on. They all left the house, but they all passed through that gray area. So like who from the original house came back with us? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you kind of like notice that their behaviors are a little bit different from our original group.
I assume that every single time they walked through that dark space, they were at a different house. They would never just go back to the same one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I believe from some of the interviews I watched, I think the director said there are 5 houses. Which
maybe we did see that when she starts to look through different windows.
Yeah, exactly. And the director also used almost all the money that he raised post shooting for the editing, like we were talking about before.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Of it. Yeah, there was a lot of footage that they had to comb through, and it took a ton of time to like piece together scenes.
I can only imagine how time consuming that was, how tedious.
They also screen tested this and took notes from the audience.
Okay.
So that they could really try to make it as crystal clear as possible for people to understand, because it is really layered and it's really, really complicated.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just stupid. But
No, but you understand it and you're explaining the whole thing. It's complicated, but in a good way, in a way that I find very satisfying. Because if they had a bunch of shit that they did randomly and none of it was like explained by the end, I would be furious.
No, I'm with you 100%. One other little fun note, this being such a micro budget film, they used rental cars.
Okay.
To smash.
Oh.
And then they replaced the windshields before they returned the cars, apparently.
I was just going to say, how was that less expensive? Replacing a windshield was less expensive. for rental cars.
Well, then buying a car and smashing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Unless they just use their own cars. Like, let me just replace my own windshield.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently they used rental cars.
Wow.
That's some of the lore.
I feel like that probably violates your rental car agreement, but it's okay. It's all in the past.
Kayfabe gay. Kayfabe.
Don't tell anyone.
Just us and everyone listening.
So we hope that you love this movie just as much as we do. If you haven't seen it before, I hope that you watched it beforehand, because I think this will be a lot less confusing if you did.
I'm going to listen to this episode back, and I think it might be confusing. So I want to make sure that it isn't.
I don't think that the way we told it is. If somebody is listening to this and has never watched it, maybe, but we gave you fair warning.
I hope to God. I hope to God. I really do.
Yeah.
If you guys want to follow us on social media, we are at Chainsaw Girls Pod pretty much everywhere.
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
Hell yeah. We also have an email address. You can email us chainsawgirlspod@gmail.com.
Yes, please give us a 5-star review if you would feel so inclined. It helps our podcast so much. If Patreon is up by now, which it will be soon if it's not already, we don't know exactly when this is going to air, please go check it out. It's going to really, really help our podcast, and we're going to post a lot of bonus content there.
Yes, and actually, if you are a patron, you'll be sticking around because we extend the episodes for our patrons.
Sure do.
Okay, bye.